Hi everyone, and welcome to video number 6. And you'll see that I'm not wearing a crown for this video, ladies and gentlemen. I'm wearing a very dark hat. You see the buckle there, very dark clothes. Now, this video is all about the Puritans. Now, who were the Puritans? Well, have you got any ideas? Have you done about this in your lessons? Have you done any reading about this? If not, don't worry. This video should help explain. So the Puritans, they were a religious group. Now, some people have said that they were very extreme in their beliefs, very extreme Protestants. They were totally against the Catholics. Why would that be? Have you got any ideas? Well, think back to the Reformation. Martin Luther over in Germany nailing his 95 complaints, his 95 theses to the door, complaining about the Catholic Church. The Puritans thought that the Catholic Church was not a very good religion. They thought that they'd lost the message of God. So for them, they were against the Catholics. But remember, 1553 to 1558, Mary was Queen of England and she was a Catholic. And if you recall, 300 people were executed, burned at the stake by Mary on Mary's orders, and many of those people were Puritans. Also, I've mentioned in the past Marian exiles. About 800 people, Protestants, many again who were Puritans, who were exiled. They had to leave Catholic England and fly to Europe, safety, flee away to Protestant parts of Europe. So the Puritans were not particularly happy with the Catholics because of what had happened in Mary's reign, and they were also not particularly impressed with the Catholic religion because they thought it was going against God. Look at the name, the Puritans. They believed that they thought, right, we need to lead a very simple, plain, pure life, praying to God. Now, of course, this is 1558, 1559, the religious settlement. If you quickly go forward in history almost 100 years, 1649, King Charles I is executed, beheaded at the end of the Civil War. Oliver Cromwell takes over, and the Puritans actually were in charge of England for about 10 years in the 1650s. Now, they very famously introduced their ideas. Football was stopped. My goodness, stopping football. Gambling, swearing, all of these were stopped, and they were punished by floggings. Very famously, of course, da-da-da-da, hello, Santa. Not in Puritan times, no. I'm afraid we're not going to celebrate Christmas. Oh no, Santa's very sad. Goodbye, Santa. No Christmas celebrations. When the Puritans were in charge of England in the 1650s, if people discovered that you were cooking a goose for Christmas, you would be punished. So the Puritans were very extreme in their religious beliefs. Now, what did they make of Queen Elizabeth's religious settlement? How much of a challenge were the Puritans for Elizabeth? That's what we're going to have a look at. Maybe in the exam they might say, describe 2 key features of the Puritan challenge to Elizabeth. Pay attention and we'll go through some of the features that you could use. Now, remember the religious settlement, the middle way. Do you remember it from the last video? The middle way. Well, that wouldn't appeal to the Puritans. They would not want concessions and compromise with the Catholics for the reasons I talked about a couple of minutes ago. So what the Puritans wanted was they saw the religious settlement as a first step in the aim to totally remove all Catholicism from England. So Look at the clue. They wanted black gowns for priests, not the white surplices or coloured vestments. No, no, no. But yet that's what Elizabeth had allowed in the settlement, so they would be against that. They wanted very plain, simple churches, no stained glass, no decorations, no music, no crosses, no crucifixes. They won't be at all in favour of that. They wanted the communion service, the wording, to be far more clearer to support their idea that Jesus is there only in spirit, not physically, which is what the Catholics believed. Remember, I said in the settlement in the previous video, Elizabeth had deliberately left the words vague so that both Catholics and Protestants could say, oh yeah, I believe that. The Puritans did not want that. They also did not want Elizabeth to be named as supreme governor of the church. Why not, do you think? She's a Protestant. Why would they not want Elizabeth to be supreme governor of the church? Well, it's this, ladies and gentlemen. The Puritans believed you didn't really need a head of church. No, it's quite simple. Pray to God. Don't have statues, don't have people in charge. It's God. So they were against a lot of that. Now, what sort of challenge did they bring to Elizabeth? Well, we'll look at two examples. The first one, remember I said they were totally against crucifixes. Now, here Elizabeth had to allow some concessions to the Puritans. Puritan bishops threatened to resign en masse, all of them, unless they could get rid of the crucifixes. Elizabeth at the time, she didn't have enough bishops to replace the Puritans, so she had to give ground on this. So you could argue that that was a little bit of a successful challenge for the Puritans. Although, of course, Elizabeth herself, in her own private chapel, kept the crucifix. They also, so that's one challenge, the crucifixes. The second challenge, it comes back to this idea of clothing. Remember, I said they were against colourful vestments for the priests, for the clergy. And they said, 1560, no, we are going to refuse to wear either a white surplice, the sort of top that the priest would wear, or different colours. No, we want them to be very, very dark, very, very black. Now, on this challenge, Elizabeth did not give in. She was helped, 1565, 1566, by the Archbishop of Canterbury, the leader of the church, the top bishop. He was a moderate, so he's not extreme like the Puritans, a man called Matthew Parker. And they produced the Book of Advertisements, and in it they showed the surplices, the priest's clothing that they could wear. Now, the Puritans were not pleased with this, and some said, I refuse to wear that, and 37 of them refused and lost their jobs. Some were even put in prison. But Elizabeth won here. She did not give in. She did a bit on crucifixes, but not on the vestments. Now, she wouldn't give in to Puritan demands. Why not? Have you got any ideas? Well, here's a couple for you. Remember, she kept the crucifix in her own private chapel. Elizabeth actually quite liked some of the old Catholic ways. She quite liked some decorations, some colourful vestments. So she doesn't want to totally give in to the Puritans. Second point, she said, hang on. You're the Puritans. I'm the Queen of England. I get my power from God, the divine right of kings and queens. Therefore, you do not have the authority to challenge me. My authority is from God. I don't want you to challenge my authority. So Elizabeth was not willing to give in to them for that reason. Also, If you remember at the end of the last video, I said that the church, the bishops, they ran the church for Elizabeth, and the church was used as a sort of form of national unity, helping Elizabeth to spread her message. Remember, I mentioned about the holy days, the medals, the speeches, the prayers that were used to bless Elizabeth. So she doesn't want to lose that. Elizabeth wants the church to still carry on. She wants the bishops to rule for her. A final point. The Puritans, although they had very, very strong religious beliefs, they were actually a minority. Yes, they were strong down in the southeast of the country and around London, but up in the north, they did not have as much influence. They did not have as much power. They were a minority. Some of the Puritans, actually accepted the settlement and said, oh, okay, I'll go along with this new Church of England. Some of them, yes, we will compromise. Some of them were against it, as we've seen, but it was a minority. And the final reason, the most important reason why Elizabeth felt she didn't have to give in to the Puritans is this. Pay attention to this point, ladies and gentlemen. Elizabeth knew that the Puritans would never ever really rebel against her. They would never plot or plan to overthrow Elizabeth. Why not? Any ideas? Remember, Elizabeth is not married. Elizabeth has no children. Therefore, at this time, if Elizabeth was to be overthrown or got rid of, the legal heir was Mary, Queen of Scots, who was a Catholic. And the Puritans won't want her to become Queen of England. So, let's round it all up. How much of a challenge were the Puritans to Elizabeth's religious settlement? What word would you use? Limited. Try that. Yes, they did offer some challenge. They were not happy with it. Remember, they challenged over the crucifix. They challenged over the vestments. But their threat was limited. They were not a huge challenge. Number 1. Mary, Queen of Scots, the Catholic heir. She was linked to other Catholic countries. Therefore, the Puritans would not want to do anything which would rock the boat and allow her to become the new ruler. They were a minority. They were not a national threat across the country. It was only down in the southeast and London that they had their power base. Some of the Puritans were actually divided amongst themselves. Some of the Puritans, the more moderate ones, said, look, okay, we don't like the settlements, let's just go for smaller changes. The crucifix, the vestments. Others, the Presbyterians, that's the name of some types of Puritans, they said, let's get rid of all the bishops. Remember I said they didn't believe in sort of people having power. It was just people and God. So they're saying, let's get rid of the bishops and just put normal churchgoers in charge. Divided. And there's another group, a final group, called the Separatists. They said, let's get rid of the Church of England completely. Now, they all want different things. But because they all wanted different things, they never united to form one large opposition to Elizabeth. So there we see the Puritans. We've looked at the key features, what they wanted, what they tried to challenge in the religious settlements, and then we've looked at how much of a challenge they were. Sometimes in the exam, they might ask you, explain why the Puritans were not as much of a challenge as the Catholics to Elizabeth's religious settlements. Well, we've looked up the Puritans, so we know that side of it. But before you could answer that in an exam, we'd have to look at the Catholics and what challenge they put forward to the religious settlements. And you know what? That's the next video. So, hope it's been useful. Oh, come back, come back. I don't want to see you so sad. Here he is again. Oh, the Puritans will just have to put up with him. Santa, we don't want to cancel Christmas, do we? We certainly don't. Hope it's been useful. Catholic challenge coming next. All the best now. Oh, let's make Santa a Puritan. Hey, see you later.